first thing I want to do is I actually want to thank the KO community. As Jake has said, I've kind of been gone the last couple of years. My daughter went through KO. It's been a tough time in our family because, as my wife says, I volunteered for the military, but the family got drafted. And it's been tough. We've been working through it. One of the main things that has gotten us through is the KO community. I'm a Navy officer. I go to sea. My first couple of years in the United States Navy out of college, I was a nice, unambiguous position. We chased the Soviets around the 7 seas. And I pretty much hit every one of them except the Pacific. And it was a real and valid threat. And you get to understand that when you're looking across the water off the coast of Beirut and you see the Soviet fleet and you wonder, gee, this isn't looking good. As a deputy, my job was to make amends. And in the Afghan culture, they have a thing called a salacia payment. It's basically blood money. You kill one of my relatives, okay, pay me. It sounds kind of, we're not talking New England here. This is a culture and it works for them. And my superiors were extremely concerned about this because the village from which this boy came, we had been rocketed from them a couple times. They were Pashtun. They were not necessarily fully engaged with the Kabul government, and they were actively supporting people that would shoot at us. So we wanted to do the right thing, and I got the job to do that. But oh, by the way, Captain Van Loon, before you do that, be careful of how much money you spend, how much money you come up with, because we don't want to encourage people throwing their brothers and sisters in front of our trucks. Life is cheap in a lot of ways, and we had some issues where people would throw usually their younger sisters in front of our trucks in an attempt to have us pay for their lives. So here I am over Father's Day weekend trying to understand how much on Monday morning I'm going to pay for the life of someone that is my son's age. In my service in Afghanistan, lately in Africa, one of the things that I think is correct is justice. It's very hard to find. You can't get it at the point of a gun. But that, I think, is the only way to really get to a place where we have peace. So I make the point again, I'm a veteran. My experience has been in the military. I've got a lot of experiences and stories that I haven't quite figured out yet, but there's some that are unambiguous. One of them is that if you work with people to get justice, you'll get a little bit of peace. So in that regard, I'd like to finish by saying, yes, I want you to be veterans in both senses. In the Latin root sense, I want you to be able to be old like me, just on general principles. But I want you to also be a veteran because you fought a fight that you believed in. Hopefully that fight will be for justice. And know that you can do that in uniform, your country's uniform. You can do that wherever you go. Don't think that you have to put on the uniform to be of service. I say that because as I get older, I realize the limitations of military power and the values of it. But I also recognize that the real power of this country is in people like you searching for justice going forward.